everybody, Ryan here from Resound School Music in Surrey, British Columbia. Thanks for watching. Today I'm going to be showing you the basics of strumming for the guitar. Now in case you don't know what strumming is, it's a way of getting sound out of the guitar by interacting with the strings. Two ways of getting sound out of the strings, out of the guitar. One is picking, which is something like this, or finger picking. So those are two kinds of picking, or strumming, which is like this. Which we just did with a pick or without a pick. We're going to focus on using a pick because I think that's the easier of the two, and it's also the more common. Most of the time, 90% of the time, we would probably tend to use a pick anyway, so that's what we're going to focus on. Which means we should learn how to hold a pick properly. So what we're going to do is stick your hand out in front of you like this, and make this sort of come here motion. You say come here. You curl your finger in, and that's kind of what you're going to, how you're going to be holding your finger for the first way of holding the pick. And we're going to take our pick and put it so that it's pointing out in front of you, resting on what's called your second bones. Here's your first bones, second bones is the middle part of your finger, and third bones is here. So you're going to put our finger there, we're going to curl our finger in, and we're going to make a straight line between our thumb and our second bones. Now, I tend to use this way of holding my pick primarily for picking, not for strumming. I prefer a slightly different approach, so I'm going to show that to you now. I like to take my first two fingers and put the pick so it almost becomes an extension of my fingernails, but from the front of my finger as opposed to the back. Then I take my thumb, put it right in between the two fingers in the middle of the pick, and use that to strum instead. I find this allows me to hold my pick a little more loosely, but still maintain control of the pick without being afraid of losing it. And so that's the method I prefer. Now everybody has a different anatomy, and everybody prefers to hold their pick a little bit differently. And despite what many people say, I don't think there's a specifically right or wrong way to do it. Experiment and see what works well for you. Those are what I do. Okay, now let's talk about the strumming motion. The basic strumming motion. Now, a lot of people, when they start strumming, a lot of beginners, they will use MTV or Much Music or rock concerts or whatever as their model for how they should play. And often, when you're playing on a stage, there's a lot of drama that's unnecessary. So your arms kind of swing wildly back and forth, and that's not the most efficient or the most efficient way to play or the way to get the best sound of your instrument. So often you'll end up with something that sounds like this. No, that was very loud, very abrasive, and maybe even a little bit obnoxious. You might enjoy that for a short period of time, but after a while it get very irritating. And so we want to do a little bit more of a subtle approach. Instead of swinging our hands wildly from here to there, we're going to use our elbow to bend slightly so that if we were holding our wrist straight, we might go over 2 or 3 strings. And then we're going to add to that a bit of a twist of our wrist, which will help us to get the pick from one side to the other. So I'm going to do slight bend and twist, and then back up and twist, back down, twist. And so we get this motion all the way across the strings. Ideally, we want to be strumming from about here to about here on your guitar, give or take a little bit. So, so this is your motion. Let's try it together. We're going to play an E chord. The chord is on the bottom of your screen. Do that again. Okay, so that's the basic strumming motion. Now we're going to talk about something called the metronome strum, or what I like to call the metronome strum. Now a metronome is a tool that's used by musicians, has been used for hundreds of years to indicate the proper timing. And in case you haven't seen it, it's on the bottom of the screen here as well, but it's got a bit of an arm that goes back and forth and makes a ticking noise that indicates a precise amount of distance between each tick. So what you get is a kind of like a ruler or a guide for playing the instrument. And it helps musicians to play in time with each other. The metronome strum is named after that because our arm swings from one end to the other, basically the same distance up and down. And it always goes down, up. There's no, down, down, up, up. It's always down, up, down, up, down, up. Okay, so the basic metronome strum sounds like this. Okay, now if you were to listen to that for a long period of time, once again, that would get very old and boring, and you wouldn't want to listen to it for very long. So we have something called strumming patterns. Strumming patterns are a combination of down strums, up strums, and skips. A skip is when we play, we move from one side of the strings to the other, but we actually skip over top of them instead of strumming them. So our hands are always doing this down, up, down, up, down, up motion, but sometimes we skip them, and here's an example. So you'll notice that my hand is always moving down, up, down, up, down, up, but occasionally it's moving up or down without playing the strings. Okay, so that's how we create strumming patterns, or that's how we play strumming patterns, I should say. Now we're going to look at a couple of the most common strumming patterns. There's going to be a little diagram at the bottom of your screen that will say D dash DU dash UDU. D stands for down, dash stands for skip, and U stands for up. So this is the one that you see in the bottom of your screen right now. Is called the folk strum. We like to call it folk strum because it's found in a lot of folk songs, but also a ton of rock and pop songs, so don't be put off by the name. Okay, so we're going to play an E chord again, and we're going to play this through slowly. Down, skip, down, up, skip, up, down, up. Let's do that again. Down, skip, down, up, skip, up, down, up. Okay, we're going to play that together 4 times through, a little bit faster. Down, skip, down, up, skip, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down. Very good. If you didn't get it while we were playing it together, I'd recommend you pause the video now and just try it yourself for a few minutes. Okay, now the next strum we're going to do is a very common strum as well, not quite as common as the first one, but it goes like this. Down, skip, down, skip, down, skip, down, up. On the guitar, it sounds like this. Down, skip, down, skip, down, skip, down, up. Okay, let's play that together 4 times through. Down, skip, down, skip, down, skip, down, up. Down, 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 up. Played fastly, it sounds something like this. Great. Now both of those patterns we just played can be practiced using the song sheets that are below. We've got one for the Fray, a song called How to Save a Life, and it uses the folk strum, first strum that we looked at. And the second is called Fix You by Coldplay, and it uses the second strum that we looked recommend you take a little time to practice the songs and have fun with them. Now finally, I want to show you how to create a bit more of a texture to your sound. What I mean by that is adding a little bit more of different kind of strums. There's lots of different ones we can do, but for beginners, I usually do down stroke, up stroke, a skip, and we also do something called a bass drum. Now bass drum are at this stage always down, so we can replace a downstroke with the bass stroke. And what we're doing is playing the lowest sounding notes, either the one string, the lowest string, the lowest two strings, or the lowest three strings, and it sounds something like this. Okay, you notice I'm not playing all of the strings, I'm just playing these ones here. So if I were to take the folk strum and replace the first D with a B, meaning a bass drum, it would sound like this. Bass, skip, down, up, skip, up, down, up. See how that just gives it a little bit of a different sound? Add some variety, and you can experiment with those in different songs, adding the bass in place of a down. We've got a ton of chord charts on our site at resoundschool.com. Feel free to look through those, download whatever you want, and use them to become a better guitar player. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. We've got an advanced strumming video as well. Feel free to enjoy that video as well, and email me with any questions at ryanl@resoundschool.com. Thanks everybody.